Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to the cabin. It's going to be a hot one today in Middle Tennessee. I think we're supposed to get up to like 95 degrees. Humidity is already ridiculous. But anyway, I just wanted to kind of give you guys a behind the scenes look, or kind of what my thought process was in designing and building this cabin. If you've been following this channel for any amount of time, you really know how this cabin was built. If you're new to the channel, this was probably one of the more unique builds on YouTube. Actually, I haven't really seen any other YouTubers build a cabin with this method. And what I mean by that, it was built using 2x8 dimensional lumber. And what I did is I sandwiched 2x8s together and pretty much created lumber logs. Did get a lot of questions on, was I the genius behind this method? No, I actually was not, but I did see some pictures on the internet before I started building and thought it was pretty intriguing. I come to find out, after I built the main shell of the cabin, someone contacted me and let me know that there was a guy, I think in Michigan, his name was Keith Stonebreaker. He actually came up with this particular method and had a booklet and pamphlet how to actually build like this. So I'm kind of kicking myself. I wish I would have known that before starting this. I probably would have saved myself a lot of headache and probably would have saved a lot of time as well. Like I said, I just wanted to kind of give you guys a kind of behind the scenes, what my thinking was and how I laid the design out of the cabin, the main shell, the bedroom, the bathroom additions, the loft, and pretty much everything else that went along with it. So hope you guys enjoy, and again, really appreciate all the comments and questions. And this is really just the beginning. My next cabin, which I'm about to start here in about a month or two, will actually be really using logs from my land, genuine logs, a genuine log cabin. So should be pretty interested. Hope you guys follow along with that. So come on in, we're about to start the tour of the interior. So let's talk about the interior of the main shell of the cabin first. So I think one of the most asked questions I got while building this was, hey, how big is this? What's the footprint? So it is only 12 feet wide by 16 feet deep. So the footprint of this is really not that big at all. I think what makes it appear a little bit bigger is that the pitch of the roof going up to the loft, the higher ceilings makes it look, quite a bit bigger than it actually is. And I kind of like that because, limited space down here, but just having higher ceilings helps it feel a little bit more spacious than it actually is. As far as like the design and layout goes, one of my main considerations as far as how the cabin was oriented and set up was that the sun would rise in the front of the cabin here on this side, and then throughout the day, the southern exposure, taking advantage of the sunlight in these three windows. And then during the evening on the back part of the cabin where the bedroom is, having the sun set right there. Those factors all kind of went into kind of the design and layout of this. One of the big things is in the fall and winter time, the three windows here on this side where the wood stove is, there's really an amazing view down into the valley below. So I really wanted to have the ability to sit here, look at the wood stove, look at the fireplace, but also have the ability to look out my, these windows behind the stove and take advantage of that view. So I think one of the funny things I would get, a comment here and there, throughout the build was like, hey, I love your cabin. It kind of reminds me a little bit of my Self-Reliance's old cabin. And, really there is a lot of similarities. I really did like the way he used his space. I think his cabin was a little bit bigger, but as far as the design element of where the door is and the fireplace, it made a lot of sense to me because when you're opening a door, you lose space there. So to have your wood pile there and then have the stove in close proximity, because you really can't be close to that when you're when it's blazing and it's you've got a fire going. So I really liked the space, his use of space in that area. So I did take some of those elements and incorporated it into my own build. So, but again, the main consideration was, where the sun rose, where the sun was throughout the day, and then where the sun set in the back, and being able to take advantage of the view into the valley below. So for the kitchen and the dining room table, the reason behind the placement of the dining room table here and the kitchen over there, again, really had to do kind of with the view down into the valley below. So my thinking was that, you know, as I'm sitting here eating, or guests are sitting here eating at the table, they could look out that window and really take advantage of the view below. I did get a couple comments about how, you know, I should have had the kitchen over on this side because of the proximity to the stove. And, you know, that kind of did make sense, but because of the floor space being so limited, I didn't really think it would be that much of a factor to, you know, take your food off the stove and go over there, and vice versa. Again, my thinking was just to be able to sit down, you know, lay back against the wall, look out the window, and just take advantage of that view to the valley below. As far as the footprint of this bathroom, it's only 4 foot by 8 feet, so not a lot of real estate. I do have a shower kind of in this back area here, which I'll pan and show you here in a minute. You have your sink for washing your hands. Then you have a commode toilet area for doing your number 2. Number 1, obviously, you can go outside and do that. But I wanted to kind of show you how the commode works. I did get quite a few questions about, hey, doesn't it stink really bad when you know, poop into a bucket in inside space? And, you know, if you don't take preventative measures, it obviously will. So what I've done to kind of help alleviate the smell or the odor is, first step is open up the window. You know, the window is right next to the commode. I purposely designed it like that. Second step is I've got a little kind of a USB powered fan. You just turn that on high, set it down on the bathroom counter. So now you've got nice ventilation. Everything is blowing out the window instead of kind of just accumulating here in this small space, and it works really well. The third step is, you know, you've got your wood shavings, your wood chips. Just make sure you're putting that down as you're doing your business as a courtesy flush, and it works really well in my experience. Regarding the bedroom, as far as the footprint of this particular bedroom, it is 8 feet deep, 10 feet wide. So it's a decent amount of space. I do have a full-size bed set up. I do have room for a desk and a chair. And then I also have room over on this side of the bedroom for my generator and then my portable mini refrigerator. So as far as space goes, it is a decent amount of space for a bedroom for a small cabin. Again, I wanted to make sure I had a lot of natural light coming in with the 2 windows. The sunset in the back there is really beautiful at nighttime, and sitting there at the desk just looking out at the sunset, being able to kind of see nature, being able to see animals, deer, turkey walk by. That was all kind of taken into consideration as far as, you know, placement of the windows and how everything was designed. Let's go ahead and talk about the loft space. The loft, I think, gives me another roughly 100 square feet in the upstairs area. And the main challenge of the loft was designing a stair system to be able to access it, but at the same time not taking up floor space here on the first floor. So what I did come up with is a way of storing the loft ladder on 2 1-inch metal pipes, and then when I want to take the stairs down, it kind of just use a swivel gravity type system in order for the loft ladder to get into place, which I'll show you here how that works. So basically you're just taking the bottom part of the ladder while the upper part stays on the metal pipe, swivels down, and then just remove it. Get it into place, and now you're ready to access the loft. So let's go ahead and take a look at the loft. So you can see there definitely is enough headroom. I think the ceiling height up here is a little over 7 feet at the peak, and then it slopes down obviously where the gables meet the walls. but definitely enough room to walk around comfortably up here without hitting your head. So I do have 2 twin blow-up mattresses here. One in this area, and then 1 twin mattress over in this area here. Downstairs, I think I forgot to mention, in the bedroom, it is a full-size blow-up mattress, but definitely enough room to have a beanbag chair. So this is typically where the kids will sleep when they stay at the cabin. So I think this section of the loft right here, this is 12 foot by 6. This section over here is 10 foot by 6 foot. So roughly, I think another 130 some square feet. So definitely enough space to have 2 kids up here comfortably, or 2 adults. So let's talk about lights and power, and how I actually power the cabin, not only downstairs but upstairs. So for the downstairs, I actually have a BLUETTI AC300 unit that's powered by a B300 battery unit, so I get about 3,000 watt hours. It's plenty for what I'm needing here at the cabin. I've got my lights hooked up to it. I typically hook up my little portable refrigerator, and then I also hook up my little cooling unit right here, this fan. I'm able to charge all my tools, anything else, and it does a really good job. I think I've had it close to a year now. Haven't had any issues with it. Very reliable, does a good job, again, for what I'm needing. So I'll show you. Typically, I've got my lights hooked up to this. So for the bedroom, I have everything kind of on a little remote control here, so I can easily turn the lights with this little remote control, so that comes in handy. If I'm going to bed at night and I want to keep the lights on or off, I don't have to get out of bed. I can just simply, with a click of the button, click it off and click it on. I'll show you how the living room lights are set up and how they kind of revert back to this generator. So I'll take my camera here and kind of walk you through how that works. So these are basically just string pendant lights that I bought off Amazon. So I just have them strung along the loft beam and have them kind of spaced out. So I've got one to the kitchen, and then I actually have a separate pendant light right here that's the same type of string light, and I'll show you here how it is wired and how it goes back. So I just have it running all the way down the door frame, and here is my power on and off switch. So if I wanted to turn the lights off, simply click it on and off, and then I have a separate unit right here for the kitchen so I can dim it. And again, all of that comes right back to the BLUETTI right here. And if I click on the power, what you see right here, that the AC load's really not that bad at all. I'm using about 60 watts right here. Not that much of a drain on the generator at all. Upstairs, I have another BLUETTI unit. I have the AC70, which is kind of more of a portable unit. So we'll go ahead and upstairs, I'll show you how that one works. So here we are in the upstairs loft. I wanted to show you how I'm powering the upstairs. Right now, what I've currently got powered are my strand lights and then the cooling unit behind me, which I'll talk a little bit more about that later on. But so I've got a BLUETTI AC70 generator. It's a portable generator. So for my needs, when I have guests up here or when I'm up here in the loft, I'll use this unit to power my lights, my cooling. I have a monitor up here, so if folks wanted to watch movies or anything like that, I will use this BLUETTI to charge that as well. So the nice thing about this AC70 is that it does have a 1,000 watt output max, so more than sufficient for my needs. Really fast charging. It charges to about 80% within 45 minutes. I think roughly it takes about 2 hours for a full charge, so really good. It is powered by the LifePo 4 battery, which you get about 3,000 charge cycles from, or basically like a 10-year life cycle. So really good 5-year warranty. I've been really happy with my BLUETTI. Downstairs I've had that AC 300 for close to a year, no issues, and I really expect the same thing with this AC 70 as well. So I'll show you kind of how the output capacity looks on this right now. So as I mentioned, I have my strand lights hooked up to it, as well as this cooling fan, and right now you can see it's drawing about 52 watts, so really not that much at all. I'll also kind of show you now the app, how the app works, so you can kind of monitor things on your phone via the BLUETTI app. So here I am using the BLUETTI app on my phone. Pulling up my devices, I can see that I've got both my AC70 and AC300 linked to the app. I can see here my charge percentage on the AC70 is at 92%. I'm using about 52 watts of power, and I also have the ability to power off the generator if I want to, using the power button on the app as well. So some really good functionality built into it, as well as some other things that are available. So when I'm not up here in the loft using the BLUETTI AC70, I do take it with me out in the field, out on the property, to charge my batteries for my saws, for my drills, and any other of my tools that need to be charged. So definitely recommend the BLUETTI AC70. As I mentioned, I think for close to a year now that I've had BLUETTI, I've been really happy with it. Let's go ahead and talk about the heating and cooling here in the cabin. So what I chose to go with for my cabin, again a smaller footprint, was a DROLET Spark 2, which is a kind of a real small, one of the newer high efficiency stoves. I chose this particular model because I do like the surface area on the top of the stove. You know, you've got room for teapots, multiple teapots. You've got room for multiple pans on here when you're cooking. We had Thanksgiving here at the cabin. I think we had like 3 or 4 different things on the stove going at one time, so really good surface area. The nice thing about this, again, it is high efficiency, so it burns really clean. The glass, I haven't really had to clean the glass hardly at all in about 2 years. What I did choose for my particular situation is I did go with a double wall pipe, just because of the proximity up near the roof line. I wanted to make sure that I had enough space for, for combustion purposes. Really not worried. I do have a stone wall pretty much from the dining room over to this wall. So the nice thing about this stove is that as the stove is getting cranked up and starting to heat, that stone will absorb a lot of the heat and kind of release it slowly throughout the day or the night, that I've got the stove going. So overall, really impressed with the DROLET Spark 2. Definitely would recommend it. I think I bought it about 2.5 years ago. It was right around $900. I'm sure with inflation it's probably gone up maybe a little bit since then, but really good stove. Really impressed with it. So I'll talk about the outdoor kitchen here in just a little bit as well. Something else I did to help with heating and cooling in the cabin is these windows that were installed, these are only single pane windows, so they really don't keep heat in, or or in the summertime they keep heat out. So what I did is I installed some of these shutters on the interior of the cabin. So in the wintertime, if I've got this fireplace going, and to prevent the heat from escaping through these single pane windows, I can simply close these shutters, and this will help prevent the heat from escaping through the cold, and vice versa, preventing the cold from coming in. So this helps not only in the wintertime with heat loss, but also helps in the summertime as well. Even though I don't get direct sunlight with the leaves on the trees on here, just kind of keeping any of the added heat out. Sometimes I'll close these during the summer months as well. So obviously in the summer and kind of early fall, it's a little bit too hot outside to get the wood stove and the cabin going. So I use this stove quite a bit in the spring and the summer to cook with, to heat water, pretty much anything else. This is an old Vogelzang, I think that's how it's pronounced, Vogelzang. It's a boxwood stove, so it does have two of these removable metal lids on top, so you can get your fire going and, you know, put your pans or pots or teapots on there and get a really good fire going. So I do have just kind of a small chimney pipe up here with a damper on it, so I kind of keep this regulated depending on, you know, how big of a fire that I want to utilize. Obviously, since I'm outside here, I do kind of keep close tab on any sparks or anything around here, just so, you know, I don't set the woods on fire up here. But this stove does really well for what I'm needing, you know, in the spring and the summer. Outdoor kitchen. I even use it, you know, in the fall and winter. If my stove inside has too much going on that surface, I'll bring, you know, extra stuff out here to heat as well. So I've been really happy with this stove as far as my outdoor kitchen goes. So one of the ways that I keep food cold here at the cabin is using this portable refrigerator. The manufacturer of this is ICECO. I've had it over a year now, been pretty happy with it. It does a really good job of temperature staying regulated. I keep it between 35, 37 degrees most of the time. I power it a couple different ways. So I do have a portable battery bank here. ICECO sent this to me to power this with, so I kind of alternate using this as well as the BLUETTI generator. This will last me roughly about I think close to a day, that particular battery, and then when I need to charge that back up, I'll hook it directly into my BLUETTI and use that to keep it powered and keep the food cold as well. So give you a sneak peek of the refrigerator here inside. So you can kind of see right here, I just have some eggs and water in it. Have plenty of room for, you know, other things, bacon, sandwich meats, anything else that needs refrigeration here. You have other room for butter, things of that nature. And you can kind of see here at the very top, like I said, I keep it roughly about 35 to 37. And it stays pretty consistent as far as the temperature goes. So overall, been pretty happy with it. Again, this is how I pretty much keep my food cold here, and then in the wintertime, obviously I can put it out on the front porch in a cooler and keep food cold that way. So one of the ways that I keep cool here in the cabin is this fan from DREO. I don't know if it's pronounced DREO or DREO. This particular brand is the best-selling fan on Amazon. It's really quiet, very low decibel, about 40% quieter than other fans on the market. The thing I like about it is that it's a very narrow footprint. I'm kind of limited in my space here at the cabin, so I kind of store it over here by my generator. It is powered, so it does require a power source, so I have it plugged into my generator here down in the bedroom. But the really cool thing about it is that it has 12 speeds. It's controlled by this little remote control, so I can just kind of click on it and go from 1 to 12, 12 being the highest fan setting, and it will actually span across the 27-foot space or 27-foot room. From the back of my bedroom to the front of my cabin is 24 feet. So really, I could just leave this here in my bedroom and have it blowing into the living room. So if I'm sitting down there at the couch reading or, you know, doing something, I can have this fan on in the bedroom and I can feel the breeze all the way from here. And again, being ultra quiet, it's really impressive. So I've been really impressed with this particular model. I use it upstairs as well. As you saw, you know, I've got it hooked up to my BLUETTI AC70 upstairs. Downstairs, I've got it hooked to my AC300. So I'll kind of show you here. I'll kind of put a piece of paper up. I'll sit over here on my sofa. I'll keep it here in the bedroom, and I'll let you kind of see the wind speed and how quiet it is as well. So I've got it pretty much positioned where I did previously here. So I'm going to go ahead and turn turn it on. Right now it's on a level of 3, so I'm going to crank it up to 12 here and let you see if this starts to move. So you can really see, and I can feel that, like this, I mean, where I'm sitting here, I'm probably about 20 feet from it, and you can kind of see how much power, how much speed that fan has where it's at. So again, in Tennessee in the middle of summer when it's 95 degrees out, I've got this on in the cabin, and it works really, really well. So I've got it set to about 9 right now. You can kind of see you still have a pretty nice breeze here even at 9. But again, cranking that back up to 12, maximum speed. Yeah, that's really nice. So this particular model is the Pilot Max S. This is the one that has 12 different speeds built in. It does have some other modes as well, like the oscillation feature, has a timer mode built in, so you know if you're going to sleep at night, you want to set it to go off at a certain time, you can do that. It does also have an app that you can put on your phone and control it on your phone as well. But I really like this little remote control that comes with it. This pretty much has everything you need: power, timer, oscillation, speed control. I keep this with me here in the bedroom when I'm sleeping here at night, or if I'm in the living room, you know, sitting down to read or something, I'll take that over and I can control this fan pretty much from anywhere in the cabin with this remote, or also the app that comes with it as well. So if you're interested in this model, there is a link to a discount in the video description. Definitely would encourage you to check it out. I've been really impressed with it so far. So let's go ahead and talk about one of the most important things in an off-grid cabin is your water source. So in my situation, I don't have any running water to the cabin. I don't have any pumps or anything like that. I do have a rainwater catchment system set up, which I'll talk about a little bit later on when I show you the exterior of the cabin. But for what I do and for my needs here in the kitchen and the bathroom, what I do is I haul water in and use a kind of a pump system here in the kitchen, and then in the bathroom and the shower, I'll show you, I have kind of a gravity fed system set up in there. So for the kitchen, what I have is I've got a Zodi pump system there. So when I need water in the kitchen, what I'll basically do is just take this pump out. So I'll just remove this unit. I go to my rainwater catchment system. I'll fill up one of these blue jugs. I'll come into the kitchen and then I'll just fill this up here with water. I think this Zodi pump, I think it holds about 2.5 gallons of water. I actually saw Bush Radical use this for a shower, off-grid shower that he used, and thought it was pretty intriguing, and just wanted to incorporate that idea here into my kitchen setup. So I'm going to get this ready to use, so just go ahead and pump. When you're ready to use it, you just turn on the faucet here. It's not running water, but to me it is running water. You just have to do a few pumps on your Zodi pump system. I just have a kind of a clear plastic tube going to this particular faucet, and again, this fills to about 2.5 gallons. So whenever I need to do dishes or wash anything here in the sink, this pump system works well for my needs. So how I get water to my shower, I have a 2.5 gallon galvanized steel watering can that I fill up with my rainwater catchment system. So when I'm ready to take a shower, I simply just take the can, get it set up in its housing unit here. And then once it's set up and ready to go, we just have a little simple chain that you just release the latch on this chain. And then the shower is ready to go. Then you have a gravity-fed off-grid water can shower. Typically in the summer months, I don't really heat the water because it's warm from the rain barrels. But in the spring, fall, winter, I'll go ahead and put it on my wood stove here in the cabin, or either on the wood stove outside at the outdoor kitchen. So it works really well. All right, if you've made it this far, I appreciate you following along. So we're going to go ahead and talk about the exterior now a little bit. I did allude to at the beginning of the video the construction method of this cabin, using the 2x8 sandwiched together to create these lumber logs. So a lot of the questions I had regarding these logs were, you know, did they warp, did they twist, did they shrink? So I can say, you know, close to 3 years later, I've seen no signs of any warping or twisting of these lumber logs. Shrinking, I'm sure they did shrink a little bit. One of the things I did do when I was building the walls of this cabin, you'll notice you'll see the white chinking material in between the logs. I didn't really do any chinking for pretty much the first year because I did want the logs to settle down before I put anything in between them. And since I've chinked the cabin, I've not really seen anything or any signs of, you know, the chinking being pushed out or anything like that. I do see a few areas where I will need to touch up a little bit, but as far as the warping and twisting goes, I think having the three 2x8s laminated together, glued and screwed, really prevents any type of warping, which is really one of the strengths of this construction method. Now, I did get a lot of questions, you know, why did you not use nails? Because nails, you know, they have more of a, you know, more power and more resistant to shear. My main concern was that I did not want these logs to be able to come apart. So I thought that sinking in screws and screwing them together, the grip strength of those screws gripping the three 2x8s together would be more of a benefit. You know, I may be proved wrong on that down the road, but I've gone around the cabin several times over, you know, I pretty much check it monthly to see if there's any signs of the log twisting or anything like that. I've not seen anything like that yet. Now, that may, you know, having said that, I may go a couple years down the road and go back and put nails in all of these logs at some point if I do see any signs of, you know, the screws not holding up. But from what I was thinking, in my viewpoint, I was more wanting to have the grip strength of the screws, because I was not worried about the weight of the, you know, the logs sitting down on each other. I was more worried about the logs kind of coming apart, the three logs coming apart, or the three 2x8s coming apart, if that makes sense. Regarding the finish of the cabin, I did use a torch to burn the wood as I went along. I didn't go full sugi ban. I did not burn it to a black char and then scrape it off with a wire brush. I burnt it pretty good, and it's held up really well. I've had no issues with weather, insects, any signs of rot or anything like that. Now on the southern facing side, this side with the three windows, in the fall and in the winter, there's no leaves on the trees over here, and this side of the cabin gets absolutely lit up with sunlight. So what I did do is I did put a coat of Australian timber oil, Cabot Australian timber oil, on the south facing side, just to protect against the UV, the ultraviolet, because it does get lit up quite a bit the fall, winter months with that sunlight directly on there. The rest of the cabin, you know, the front, the back, this side over here, again, I've just pretty much stayed with the chara that I did initially, and it's, you know, it's held up pretty well. So like I said, we'll do a little tour around. I'll kind of show you that. Another aspect that I got a lot of questions on was the roof. You know, why did I rust the roof? Why did I, you know, take off the galvanized coating and, you know, put rust on there? Rust, you don't want rust on your roof. It's gonna, you know, your roof's gonna fall apart within a year or two, or it won't last that long. And, you know, that may be the case. As far as underneath the metal roof, you know, I've got 2 layers of waterproofing. I've got a foil foam insulation, and then I have 10 mil black plastic underneath the metal. So even if it did start to rust down the road and, you know, I get a little bit of a leak here and there, I'll never know in the cabin unless it's like an absolute torrential rain or monsoon or, you know, a hurricane or something like that. But after I rusted the roof, I did put a sealant over top of that to kind of prevent the rusting from further accumulating. So, and again, I'll go up on the roof and I'll show you a close-up of the roof and see how that's holding up as well. Now, again, 10 years down the road, you know, I may have to go back up and replace some of these metal roofing panels, and, you know, I'm okay with that. By that time, I'm hopefully retired and won't have much else to do, so we'll see how that works out. So here's the ends of the lumber logs. I did put some 1x on the outside and on the tops to prevent any water from getting down into the 3 logs that are screwed and glued together. Again, it's holding up pretty well. So here we can kind of see this side of the cabin here, which is where I did add the Australian timber oil, the Cabot Australian timber oil, just to protect it against the UV. And again, there's no signs of any kind of rot or decay or anything like that. One other thing I did get a question on was, hey, why did you leave the OSB exposed when you initially built the cabin? You can see here I did put a 1x3 strip on here to protect the OSB, but even the OSB was, you know, the edges were painted. There was no signs of rot or anything on the main cabin here. So you can kind of see the chinking and everything all the way up to the windows here. So here's the section of the cabin that the last section where I've not yet put the 1x's on the ends of the logs. And even these logs here, you can kind of see, you know, just having them burnt and having them charred quite a bit. There's really no signs of rot or decay, you know, even 3 years, close to 3 years later. So that burning of the wood, the lumber, really helps out quite a bit. So let's go ahead and we'll go up to the roof. I'll let you kind of see the rusting process and see how that's holding up. Alright, so here we are going up to the roof area. So you can see here, this is probably the most heavily rusted area of the roof. And again, I put a sealant on there to kind of protect it from eroding much more, but this is the side of the cabin that does not get virtually any sunlight, so really not too worried about the rusting on this side. On the other side, I didn't rust it quite as much. I actually used more spray paint over on that side, so I'm really not worried about rusting over there. This side is actually the side with the most rusting on there. So again, no signs whatsoever of any kind of leaking or anything like that. So here is the underneath of the cabin. I've got 2 sections that I've yet to finish out. This section of the underneath is where I have my rainwater barrels set up. I do have about 100 gallons of rainwater, and then I have it running to a 3-stage filtration system right here, gravity fed. So that's how I'm getting water to the inside and outside. Basically, like I said, I just carry it in with a plastic bucket or one of those 2.5 gallon water cans. And so my rainwater system is set up right here with the gutters. Comes down and then goes inside and drains into these 250 gallon barrels right here. So on this side of the cabin underneath, you can see it's quite a mess. I have not done anything yet to, this is going to be my tool shed. I'm going to put some shelves and things on here and get it nice and tidied up, but you can kind of see right now it's an absolute mess and needs some work. So that'll be a project for some other day. So just some final thoughts. If you do have any additional questions on the build or anything that I talked about in this video, please go ahead and comment. I do monitor the comments quite a bit and try to answer as many questions as I possibly can. So again, really appreciate you following along for these 2.5, close to 3 years. It's been a fun process, and I think it's about to even get more fun as we start to go a little bit deeper into the property, and I'm about to start building the real, genuine log cabin. So that should be really interesting, and it's definitely going to be a very big challenge to me. I've never used logs before, never built with them, so it's going to be a complete learning experience, just like this was a learning experience. I pretty much learned as I went along. Same thing with building a cabin with real logs. The challenge is, I can't really get materials back to there, so 90% of what I build is going to be pretty much from the land, using the wood and the timber from the land, so it should be really interesting. So again, thanks for following along, and we'll see you on the next video.